Lecture 2, Competitiveness, Strategy, and Productivity. So it's a cold, hard fact. You must have better quality, higher productivity, lower cost, and the ability to respond quickly to customer needs. And they are more important than ever. And the bar is getting higher. So this lecture focuses on three separate areas, but they're interrelated. So the first is competitiveness, then strategy, and then productivity. So competitiveness. This is how effectively an organization meets the wants and needs of customers relative to others who offer similar goods or services. So organizations compete through some combination of marketing and operations. So the question is, what do customers want, and how can these customer needs best be satisfied? So the market has a huge influence on these. Marketing is responsible for identifying customer wants or needs. It identifies pricing and quality, and it does the advertising and promotion. So businesses compete using operations 10 different ways. So the first is product or service design. Second, we have cost, then location, where are you, quality, quick response, flexibility, then inventory management. Are you going to carry large inventories or small inventories? Supply chain management. Where do you get your raw materials from? Service, and then the managers and the workers. So here's some reasons why organizations fail. The first is not having an operations strategy. And then the second is not taking advantage of your strengths and weaknesses and not recognizing the threats. The third is too much emphasis on short-term financial performance and not doing enough R&D or research and development. There's too much emphasis on product and service design and not enough on process design and improvement. Neglecting investments in either capital or human resources. Not having good internal communications and cooperation, and then not understanding customer wants and needs. So here's the hierarchy of planning. At the very top you have your mission statement. What is your mission? And that informs your goals. Your goals help your strategies, your organizational strategies, and then your functional strategies, and then those translate into tactics. Now we'll go into detail on each of these areas. The mission is the reason an organization exists. So a mission statement states the purpose of an organization, and it should answer the question, what business are we in? So here's an example of FedEx's mission statement. In the early days, FedEx was known primarily for getting things there on time. Since then, they've branched out into logistics, transportation, and other services, which you see in the mission statement. They've also added in safety, because when you push too hard on getting it there fast, your drivers may start driving too fast. and then they also focus on ethics and professional standards, and you can see the link there. There's a story from the early days of FedEx where a FedEx driver arrived at one of these boxes, a drop-off box. It looks like a mailbox. It says FedEx on it. And he discovered he did not have the key to the box, and it was back at the office. And what he knew was if he went back to the office, got the key, came out, unlocked the box, and took those packages back, all of those packages in that box would not make the airplane. They would all be late. So they would, everybody's package in there would arrive late. So what he did was he took that box and put it into the truck. Now this isn't easy because it was mounted to concrete, weights to keep people from moving the box. I guess the box actually weighed about 500 pounds. He managed to get it into the truck. He drove it there. They opened the box, got the packages out, and unloaded the truck. All those packages were on time. Now, in some organizations, that kind of behavior would be punished. You shouldn't have forgotten the key. Don't mess with the boxes. But in this case, he was held up as a hero, and his story was actually told in HR meetings for new employee orientation of a good example where he went beyond the call of duty to get the packages there on time. Goals. The mission statement serves as a basis for organizational goals. So goals provide a detail and scope. You can think about goals as organizational destinations. And those goals lead to organizational strategies. So there's a couple of different kinds of strategies. There's functional strategies and organizational strategies. So the organizational goals are the roadmap, and then the strategies is how. So you have an organizational strategies that relate to the entire organization, and they support the organizational goals and mission, and then those translate into functional strategies. Each functional area develops their own strategies based on the organizational strategies, or maybe they're responsible to implement one of the organizational strategies. Then the tactics and operations. So the tactics are the methods you use to accomplish strategies. They're sort of the how-to part of the process. Operations is actually doing the work. Core competencies. So a core competency is something that you do well that gives you a competitive edge. So to be effective in your core competencies, it needs to be aligned with your strategies. So here's some example operation strategies. So on the left, you have organizational strategies. In the middle, you have an operation strategy. And then you have some examples of companies that use this strategy. So on the left, low price. If you want low prices, you have to keep your costs down. So your operation strategy is low cost. A couple examples: First Class Postage and Walmart. They're both known for low cost or low price. Responsiveness. So if you want to be responsive to your customers, you need short processing times and on-time delivery. So a couple of examples is McDonald's and FedEx, which we've already talked about. High quality. So you want high performance design and or high quality processing. So example there is Sony TV. Newness. Your organizational strategy is new things. Your operation strategy is innovation. So a couple of companies that come to mind is 3M and Apple. So the next organizational strategy is variety. And so your operation strategy would be flexibility and volume. A couple of examples might be Burger King or McDonald's. The next one is service. So you have superior customer service. A couple of companies are Disneyland and IBM. The next one is location. The operations strategy is convenience. And so supermarkets, mall stores, mini markets, things that are close by. It's, I don't want to go all the way to Walmart. I just need a couple of items. I'm going to just stop by this market that's really close to me. Or I'm not sure what I want. I'll go to the mall and sort of figure it out. It's convenient. All the stores are there. So you have strategy formulation. So to have an effective strategy, you need to think about core competencies. What are your core competencies? What are you good at? And then the next is environmental scanning. You've probably heard about SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what's the environment? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then out there, what are the opportunities? What are the threats? And then there's a concept of order qualifiers and order winners. We'll get into those in a little more detail. So an order qualifier is the minimum. This is, you're not even considered unless you meet these minimum standards. So, and then the order winners are, okay, out of the companies or organizations that meet these minimum standards, we're going to pick a winner. So let me give you an example. We're going to lunch, and our requirement is, well, I need it fast, and I want Italian or something like that, or so it's like, well, what Italian restaurants can I get it fast? Well, I can't do that. It's like, I just need something fast. Okay, well, we could do McDonald's, we can do Burger King, we could do Chipotle. It's like, well, yeah, okay, I'll go with so those are order qualifiers. It's, I wanted Italian, but I needed it fast, so I switched. So a qualifier, it's fast. The winners is like, well, I guess I'm tired of burgers, so let's go to Chipotle. Let's get a burrito. So in this case, the characteristics that won that competition was the type of food. Environmental scanning. So this is the SWOT analysis. So the internal factors are strengths and weaknesses, and the external factors are opportunities and threats. So here's some key external factors. What are the economic conditions out there? Can people afford what I'm going to sell? Is there demand for it? The next is political conditions. What's the political environment? Will I be allowed to do this in this area? The legal environment, what laws would regulate what I'm trying to do? The technology, what kind of technology is out there and available? And then the competition, who else is doing things like this? And then the markets, what markets are available? And then internal factors. These are things. These are what identify your strengths and weaknesses. What are your human resources? What facilities and equipment do you have? How much money do you have? Um, your customers. Do you have existing customers? Do they want something new? Your products and services. What are you currently offering? What technology do you have? And what about your suppliers? Who's giving you things that supply? And then there's other internal factors. Operation strategy. So the operation strategy must be consistent with the organizational strategy. So here's some operation management decision areas. So one decision area is your product or service design. And some of the decisions: cost, quality, liability, environmental issues. What are those? Those are all considerations when you're talking about your product and service design. Your capacity. What's the capacity of your organization going to be? Your business is going to be. And when you talk about capacity, you must take into account your cost, your structure, your flexibility. Process selection and layout. You consider cost, flexibility, what kind of skills do you need, and then your capacity. Work design. How are you going to do the work? And then considerations are quality of work life. Are your employees going to enjoy working there, or are they going to burn out really quick? Employee safety. How safe is this, and then how productive is this? Are your employees productive giving this work design? Location. Some things need location for visibility, but often visible locations cost more. If you're a e-commerce business, you might want a location that's close to a distribution hub, and you don't care about visibility for the physical location. Quality. Can you meet or exceed customer expectations? Inventory. So there's a cost with having an inventory, but if you don't have enough inventory, you have shortages. Maintenance. How much is it going to cost you to maintain this? How reliable is your equipment? And what about productivity? So when you maintain the equipment, you lose productivity while you're working on it. Scheduling. What's your flexibility? What's your efficiency? Supply chains. So the cost, quality, agility, shortages, vendor relationships, those are all considerations. And then projects. What's the cost of a new project, new products or services or operating systems? So, those are all considerations. So here's a quality-based strategy. So this would be to focus your strategy on quality. So there's several areas of why you might want to go down the quality-based strategy. One is you might have a poor quality reputation and you're trying to overcome it. A great example of this is many years ago, Japanese cars were considered poor quality. They went through a major quality strategy, and now when you think of a Japanese car, something like Toyota or Honda, you think of high quality. That's because they pursued a quality-based strategy. Desire to maintain a quality image. So in this case, Honda and Toyota, they may want to maintain, now that they have a high quality image, they may want to maintain it. You might want to try to catch up with the competition. Your competition has higher quality, you want to catch up. Or another reason for this is cost reduction. So when you have poor quality, though that poor quality can cost you. You may have to do rework. Your customer comes back, you have to get them a new one. It just costs you. You may lose customers. So that's all cost reduction. Then there's time-based strategies. So you want to accomplish tasks faster. So reducing time, sometimes you can lower your cost. You can sometimes have higher quality. Productivity can be higher. Time to market is faster, and you improve customer service. So all of those can be accomplished if you focus on doing things faster. Some areas where you can achieve reductions: planning time, production and service design time. So when you're doing something new, how long does it take you to design that? Processing time. So if it takes you a minute to make a burrito and you can get that down to 50 seconds processing time, you've reduced the time. Changeover time. How fast can you change from making a burrito to making a taco? Delivery time, how fast can you get it there? And then response time for complaints. When someone has a complaint, how fast can you respond to them and go back and input that complaint into your process so that you don't have that problem continuing? Agile operations. So this is a strategy that focuses on flexibility and adaptability. So we have an environment of change. So it involves blending several core competencies: cost, quality, reliability, flexibility. So how do you mix that together to be very flexible and adaptable? Another approach or strategy is a balanced scorecard approach. So this is a top-down management system, and what they do is assign each functional area a scorecard, and you develop objectives, you develop metrics and targets for each objective, you develop initiatives to each of the objectives, and you identify links between various perspectives. So there's a finance perspective, there's a customer perspective, there's the internal business processes, there's learning and growth and monitoring results. So what you're trying to do is get each functional area to have a balanced approach, not just focus on their area. So here's an example of a balanced scorecard in the financial area. To succeed financially, how should we appear to our stakeholders? And then you have objectives, measures, targets, initiatives. Internal business, to satisfy stakeholders and customers. What business process must we excel at? And you have those details. Learning and growth, to achieve our vision. How will we sustain ability to change over time and improve? And then the customer, to achieve our vision, how should we appear to our customers? So in each of the managers in each of these areas have specific objectives, measures, targets, initiatives for that overall vision and strategy. Productivity. So what is productivity? So productivity is really how effective do you use your resources. And it's usually expressed as a ratio. It's output to input. So productivity measures are useful for tracking your performance over time. And you can also compare your productivity with other in other groups in your industry or other countries. You can compare productivity. So why does productivity matter? So high productivity is linked to higher standards of living. So as an economy has fewer manufacturing jobs with lower productivity, it's more difficult to maintain high standards of living. So higher productivity in relation to your competitive advantage. So other people in your business, if you are more competitive, you are more productive than them, you have pricing and profit advantage. And then for an industry, a high relative productivity makes it less likely to be replaced by a foreign industry. So if you have your factory here is more productive, it's harder to move those jobs to a foreign country. Here are some productivity measures. So basically, productivity is output divided by input. So some partial measures, it would be output divided by a single input. You could have output divided by labor, output divided by capital. Some multi-factor measures could be output divided by multiple inputs. For example, you could have output divided by labor plus machine cost, output divided by labor plus capital plus energy. So a total measure is the goods or services produced divided by all inputs used to produce them. Here's an example, productivity calculation. So you produce 5,000 units. Your standard price is $30 per unit. It costs you 500 hours of labor to produce those 5,000 units. The labor cost is $25 an hour. The cost of the material is $5,000. And then your overhead cost. Your overhead costs 2 times the labor cost. So the question is, what is the multi-factor productivity? So let's do these calculations. So in this case, multi-factor productivity equals output divided by labor plus material plus overhead. So your output is 5,000 units, and it's the price is $30 per unit. So at the top, that's your output. Now your input, the labor, which is 500 hours times $25 an hour, plus your material, it costs $5,000 for that material. And then it said that the overhead was 2 times the labor cost. So you have 500 hours times $25 an hour times 2. So you add all 3 of those together and you get 150,000 divided by 42,500. You do that math and you get 3.5294. So your productivity is 3.5294. So you notice there's no units on this productivity. So what's the implication of that? What that means is this productivity, you don't know whether this is good or bad unless you compare it to similar productivity. So a way of comparing is productivity growth. So if you take productivity growth is current productivity minus previous productivity divided by previous productivity times 100%. So it's a percentage. So an example, you have an assembly line, 25 units per hour in 2014. In 2015, your productivity was 23 units per hour. What's the productivity growth? So in this case, 2014 is 23 minus 25 divided by 25. So what that means is we actually had an 8% decrease in productivity. We're going in the wrong direction. Last year we did 25 units. This year we only did 23. So service sector productivity is often difficult to measure. A lot of times it's intellectual activities, and there's a high degree of variability. So one useful measure related to productivity is process yield. So where the products are involved, it's a ratio of the output of a good product to the quantity of raw material input. Another example where services are involved is a process yield is a measure often dependent on a particular process. So you have a ratio of rented cars available for a given day, a ratio of student acceptances to the total number of students approved for admission. So it's essentially some ratio of some number. So here's some factors that affect productivity. At the top you have methods. What method are you using to do your product or service? Quality. Your productivity may be better because of better quality, or it may be lower because of better quality. We're going to go into all kinds of details on quality in a future chapter, but quality is a factor affecting productivity. Management, what kind of management do you have? That can affect productivity. Technology, how are you using technology? And then capital, what machinery do you have? How much space do you have? All of these capital factors can affect your productivity. So improving productivity. So the first thing you want to do is measure your productivity. So across all your operations, you're measuring it. Then you determine critical operations, or where's your bottleneck? What is slowing you down across the operation that prevents you from getting better productivity? So then you develop methods for productivity improvements. So you begin with your bottleneck, figure out how to improve the productivity in your bottleneck. You establish reasonable goals. You don't want to aim for the moon. Just get a little bit better. After that, you can get a little bit more better. So make it clear that management supports and encourages productivity and improvement. It takes effort for employees. If an employee comes to a manager with a good idea that would improve productivity, and the manager says, no, we don't need to do that. We've always done it that way. The employee knows that we're really not serious about improving productivity. And then you measure and publicize the improvements. So you measure your improvements and tell everybody how much you improved. So this last thing is it's important to not confuse productivity with efficiency. So efficiency is a narrower concept, and it's getting the most out of a fixed set of resources. Productivity is a broader concept where you're using overall resources. So here's an example. In the efficiency perspective on mowing a lawn, giving a hand mower, the old-fashioned push mowers, how fast can you mow the lawn with that hand mower? That's an efficiency question. You do it better and better. But then the productivity perspective would include the possibility of using a power mower. So it takes me this much time, this much labor to mow the lawn. If I got a power mower instead, how much would the power mower cost me, and how would my productivity get better? Um, Once you have the power mower, you can think about, well, given this power mower, how do you increase efficiency? So in this lecture, we've talked about competitiveness, strategy, and productivity, and you can see that they're all interrelated. And a lot of the future lectures in operations management goes into details on how to improve your competitiveness, your productivity, your strategy in very specific topics.